This is PrepTest 157, Section 4, Passage 1. This is the Motown Records passage. It's about why Motown blew up so fast in the early 1960s. The difficulty level is pretty low. This should be a pretty easy one. The structure is pretty clean. The author's position is pretty straightforward from start to finish, and there's no conflict anywhere. And this is a humanities passage. It's a survey. The author lines up 3 factors that made Motown successful and then walks through each one, with no argument, no opposing view, no tension, just a cause and effect breakdown with an author who clearly admires everything Motown did. The main point here is straightforward. Motown's rapid rise came from Gordy's business instincts, Detroit's deep musical education tradition, and the arrival of electric instruments, all 3 of those working together. Now, of course, low difficulty doesn't mean free points. The passage is dangerous precisely because it feels easy. Students will coast through it, remember the general vibe, and then they can't tell the factors apart on the questions. The LSAT will, of course, ask you to distinguish which result the author links to which cause. If you blur them together when you're reading, you're going to be guessing. Now, the most important paragraph is paragraph 3. It's the longest, the most detailed, and it's doing something other paragraphs don't, and we're going to get to that. Paragraph 1 is just the doorway. You want to walk through it, no stopping. It names Gordy, gives the founding date, and then previews 3 success factors. That is all it does. Now, here's one thing you want to catch on the way past. The last sentence says, Motown moved into the vanguard of popular music. And that word tells you the author sees Motown as a frontrunner, not just a hit factory. It's a small attitude marker, but it's going to matter on any author's tone question. Then paragraph 2 is about Gordy, but you want to pay attention to what specifically it's praising. It's not saying Gordy was talented, it's saying his independence let him break industry rules. The rule he broke was this. In the late 50s and early 60s, bigger labels would take songs from niche markets and have their own stars re-record them. But Gordy refused to play that game. He said his artists could reach a broad audience directly, and then he invested in high production quality to make sure they could. So paragraph 2 isn't just saying Gordy was smart, it's saying Gordy made a specific bet against industry convention, and then it paid off. And that distinction matters. If a choice says Gordy followed a proven strategy, that's wrong because he did the opposite. Then we've got paragraph 3. You want to slow way down here, because this is where the author spends the most time, and that tells you something. The passage traces Detroit's music education all the way back to a soprano named E. Azalea Hackley around 1900. Then it draws a straight line from Hackley through public school music teachers to the actual people who built the Motown sound. And the author does not hedge. The phrase you're going to see is nearly all of Motown's session musicians, arrangers, and producers came from that program. That's about as strong a claim as you're going to see in any RC passage. Then the author names the 3 major early groups and says they formed and rehearsed at their high schools. So paragraph 3 is doing 2 things at once. It's establishing that the talent pipeline was decades deep, and it's shifting credit away from any single person and toward a community institution. And that second move is the one students miss. If you walk out of this passage thinking it's the Gordy story, paragraph 3 is the author telling you it's not. Then you've got paragraph 4. That is short, you want to read it fast. It brings in electric instruments as the 3rd factor. The only sentence worth slowing down for is the last one. The author says Motown both helped start and benefited from major shifts in popular music, and that is a loop. Motown pushed change, and the change helped Motown. So if you see a question about the relationship between Motown and broader musical trends, that is the sentence it's built on. Now, the key move in this passage is how the author distributes credit across 3 separate factors. No single one gets the crown. Gordy's independence, the education system, the technology, each one gets its own paragraph, and each one connects to a different outcome. Now, the author's stance is entirely positive. It is even admiring, you could say. There is no criticism of Gordy, no skepticism about the schools, no downside to any of it. If a choice introduces any negativity or reservation, you want to knock it out. Now, the main trap here is scope. Students will lock on to Gordy because he is the most memorable figure, and they treat this as a biography, but it's not. It is a systems explanation. Any main point answer that makes this primarily about one person is going to be too narrow. Now, before you get to the questions, you want to make sure you're solid on 3 things. First, why does the author trace Detroit's music education back to Hackley specifically? Secondly, what industry practice did Gordy reject, and what did he do instead? And third, what does the author mean when saying Motown both initiated and benefited from shifts in popular music culture?